So on this Monday, May 4th, we are seeing that there is an enhanced threat basically centered around Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then stretching kind of from the southwest to the northeast. And that stretches into parts of Missouri, Kansas, and then kind of that tip of Arkansas. So our big threat with this, you may think, is tornadoes, and that's why we are not doing a briefing today, because it's not looking very tornadic. It's looking more of like a hail producer and maybe some damaging winds. There is that tornado threat with this storm, a complex it's moving through, but our biggest thing is it's not looking crazy tornadic. We're not seeing this potential outbreak that we've seen with other enhanced threats. So our big key is looking at, okay, do we need to do something where we're covering what all can happen when we can look at the composite reflectivity and just tell from that. So our big thing with this is it's going to be a hail producer and really just some damaging winds. But we'll see that on really what's going on with the composite reflectivity. So our temperatures today are looking very nice. Basically, if you're south of that northern Kansas border, if you would draw a line straight east and west from there across the country, it's basically 70s and 80s south of there, and then 90s and 100s in parts of Texas. And basically north of there, you're seeing some 50s, some 60s. So that's why we're seeing just kind of a split country today. We're just seeing some colder temperatures, but looking overall, it's looking like it's going to be about normal spring weather. So it's going to be a very nice day overall for a lot of the country. So you can get out there and enjoy, and it looks like it's going to be a colder few weeks. But I promise that this week we are going to be doing an outlook, and we're going to be doing that here on one of these days where there isn't really any severe weather to talk about. So maybe tomorrow or some other day, we'll get into basically what we are expecting for the rest of the month. So looking at your composite reflectivity, we see that there is kind of a big system moving from the Dakotas clear down to Kansas through the morning hours. And then as we go through the day, we see some rain stretching into the Ohio Valley. But really, looking back at the plains, we see kind of a few cells turn into kind of a squall line almost. So that's why we see damaging winds. But right over Oklahoma, we're expecting this bigger system to kind of pop out of nowhere between, really, it's going to be 5 o'clock and kind of that 8 o'clock time frame. So on Central Time, it would be 4 to 7, and we would expect some big time wind gusts out of this, and it looks like it's moving in a separate direction. So we would see some supercells that would connect the line from Missouri clear down to Oklahoma, and that would feed that system, allowing it to kind of move south. So we would see potentially some damaging winds with those supercells in there. We could see an isolated tornado threat up there near Tulsa again, but the biggest takeaway from this is what occurs from Tulsa down to Oklahoma City as we see this massive squall line kind of start to form, and then it'll move south overnight into parts of Texas, and then back up into the Midwest. We're just going to see a whole lot of rain. So what you may be expecting is we're seeing some stuff in Texas. That means there's going to be a tornado threat for Texas. Well, we're expecting this to be some damaging winds, and it's moving in a separate direction, which it is entering its own field of energy. But the big thing is that it's kind of on its own, so it's an overnight environment. So we're not expecting anything huge to develop out of it other than damaging winds. We'll see some hail, but make sure you stay tuned, because as we saw over the weekend, we can go from a marginal to an enhanced pretty quickly, and so we could see a storm rapid. We could see some rapid intensification in some of these storms. So it's just stuff to kind of pay attention to and look out for. Well, thank you for watching, and make sure you stay safe today, because if you're anywhere with these thunderstorms, it can be severe, whether you're in Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, or Texas. So just be weather ready. Thank you, and we hope to see you tomorrow for tomorrow's forecast.